Random House Audio presents The Sinner by Tess Gerritsen. Read for you by Boutsikaris. Andhra Pradesh, India. The driver refused to take him any farther. A mile back, right after they passed the abandoned Octagon chemical plant, the pavement had given way to an overgrown dirt road. Now the driver complained that his car was getting scraped by underbrush, and with the recent rains, there were muddy spots where their tires could get mired. And where would that leave them? Stranded, 150 kilometers from Hyderabad. Howard Redfield listened to the long litany of objections and knew they were merely a pretext for the real reason the driver did not wish to proceed. No man easily admits that he is afraid. Redfield had no choice. From here he would have to walk. In the rearview mirror, he saw the driver's dark eyes staring at him. "You'll wait here for me, won't you?" Redfield asked. "How long?" "An hour, maybe." "I tell you, there is nothing to see. No one is there anymore." "Just wait here, okay? I'll pay you double when we get back to the city." Redfield grabbed his knapsack, stepped out of the air-conditioned car, and was instantly swimming in a sea of humidity. He set off down the road. Tall grass obscured the path, and he stumbled into a rut, his walking shoes sinking ankle-deep in mud. Clearly no vehicle had come this way in months, and Mother Nature had quickly moved in to reclaim her territory. Glancing back, he saw that the car was no longer in sight, and that made him uneasy. The driver had been reluctant to bring him this far. Bad people were out here, he had said, and terrible things happened in this area. Redfield pressed onward. The humid air seemed to close in around him. He trudged in a dreamlike trance, sweat trickling down his chest. It should be only a mile and a half, according to the map, but he seemed to walk forever, and even a fresh application of insect repellent did not discourage the mosquitoes. His ears were filled with their buzzing, and his face was an itching mask of hives. He stumbled into another deep rut and landed on his knees in tall grass. He crouched there, catching his breath, so discouraged and exhausted that he decided it was time to turn around, to get back on that plane to Cincinnati with his tail tucked between his legs. Cowardice, after all, was far safer and more comfortable. He heaved a sigh, planted his hand on the ground to push himself to his feet, and went very still, staring down at the grass. Something gleamed among the green blades, something metallic. It was only a cheap tin button, but at that moment it struck him as a sign. A talisman. He slipped it in his pocket and kept walking. Only a few hundred feet farther, the road suddenly opened up into a large clearing, encircled by tall trees. A lone structure stood at the far edge, a squat cinder-block building with a rusting tin roof. This is the place, he thought. This is where it happened. Heart pounding, he slipped off his knapsack, unzipped it, and pulled out his camera. Document everything, he thought. Octagon will try to make you out as a liar. They will do everything they can to discredit you. He moved into the clearing, toward a heap of blackened branches. Nudging the twigs with his shoe, he stirred up the stench of charred wood. It was the remains of a funeral pyre. With sweating hands, he took off his lens cap and began to shoot photos. Eye pressed to the viewfinder, he snapped image after image. The burned remains of a hut, a child's sandal lying in the grass, a bright fragment of cloth torn from a sari. Everywhere he looked, he saw death. He was about to click off another photo when his finger froze on the button. A figure skittered past the edge of the frame. He lowered the camera from his eye. There. Was that a flash of movement at the very periphery of his vision? He had caught only a glimpse of something dark bobbing among the trees. A monkey? He walked past a stone well and crossed toward the tin-roofed building. As he drew near the building, he saw that the walls were scorched by fire. In front of the doorway was a mound of ashes and blackened branches, another funeral pyre. He stepped around it and looked into the doorway. Daylight was rapidly fading, and inside it was even darker, a palette of blacks and grays. He paused for a moment as his eyes adjusted. With growing bewilderment, he registered the glint of fresh water in an earthenware jar. The scent of spices. How could this be? Behind him a twig snapped. He spun around. A lone figure was standing in the clearing. The figure came toward him, moving with a strange and jerky gait until it stood only a few feet away. The camera tumbled from Redfield's hands. He backed away, staring in horror. It was a woman, and she had no face. They called her the Queen of the Dead. Though no one ever said it to her face, Dr. Maura Isles sometimes heard the nickname murmured in her wake as she traveled the grim triangle of her job between courtroom and death scene and morgue. Sometimes she would detect a note of dark sarcasm. "Ha ha, there she goes, our goth goddess, out to collect fresh subjects." Sometimes the whispers held a tremolo of disquiet, like the murmurs of the pious as an unholy stranger passes among them. It was the disquiet of those who could not understand why she chose to walk in death's footsteps. Does she enjoy it, they wonder? Does the touch of cold flesh, the stench of decay, hold such a lure for her that she has turned her back on the living? They think this cannot be normal, and they cast uneasy glances her way, noting details that only reinforce their beliefs that she is an odd duck. The ivory skin, the black hair with its blunt Cleopatra cut, the red slash of lipstick. Most of all, it's her calmness that disturbs them, her coolly regal gaze as she surveys the horrors that they themselves can barely stomach. Unlike them, she does not avert her gaze. Instead, she bends close and stares, touches. She sniffs. And later, under bright lights in her autopsy lab, she cuts. She was cutting now, her scalpel slicing through chilled skin, through subcutaneous fat that gleamed a greasy yellow. A man who liked his hamburgers and fries, she thought, as she used pruning shears to cut through the ribs and lifted the triangular shield of breastbone the way one opens a cupboard door, to reveal its treasured contents. The heart lay cradled in its spongy bed of lungs. For 59 years it had pumped blood through the body of Mr. Samuel Knight. All pumps eventually fail, and so had Mr. Knight's as he'd sat in his Boston hotel room with the TV turned on and a glass of whiskey from the minibar sitting beside him on the nightstand. She did not pause to wonder what his final thoughts might have been, or whether he had felt pain or fear. Though she explored his most intimate recesses, though she flayed open his skin and held his heart in her hands, Mr. Samuel Knight remained a stranger to her, a silent and undemanding one, willingly offering up his secrets. The dead are patient. They do not complain, nor threaten, nor cajole. The dead do not hurt you. Only the living do. She worked with serene efficiency, laying the freed heart on the cutting board. Outside, the first snow of December swirled, white flakes whispering against the windows. Her assistant Yoshima moved in uncanny silence, anticipating her requests, materializing wherever she needed him. The darkly mottled wall of the right ventricle and the white apical scar told her this heart-sad story. An old myocardial infarction, months or even years old, had already destroyed part of the left ventricular wall. Then, sometime in the last 24 hours, a fresh infarction had occurred. Perhaps Mr. Samuel Knight thought the discomfort in his chest was just a bout of indigestion, or perhaps there had been more ominous signs which he chose to ignore, the weight on his chest, the shortness of breath. Surely it did not occur to him that he was having a heart attack, that a day later he would be dead of an arrhythmia. She looked at the torso, missing all its organs. So ends your business trip to Boston, she thought. No surprises here, no foul play, except for the abuse you heaped on your own body, Mr. Knight. The intercom buzzed. "Dr. Isles?" It was Louise, her secretary. "Yes. Detective Rizzoli's on line 2 for you. Can you take the call?" "I'll pick up." Maura peeled off her gloves and crossed to the wall phone. Yoshima watched her with his silent tiger eyes, already knowing what a call from Rizzoli signified. When at last Maura hung up, she saw the question in his gaze. "It's starting early today," she said. Then she stripped off her gown and left the morgue, to usher another subject into her realm. The morning snowfall had turned into a
Sample complete. Ready to continue?